There is a moment most horse people have experienced, but very few have ever been able to explain. You walk into the barn feeling fine, functional, nothing obviously wrong. You have not said anything, you have not done anything differently, and yet your horse is already different, already watching you with a quality of attention that was not there yesterday, already holding something in their body that was not there the last time you came. And you think, how did they know? Because you barely knew yourself. What is happening in that moment is not magic. It is not a mystical connection, though it can feel like one. It is biology. Extraordinarily sophisticated biology that your horse has been running since the moment you walked through that gate. And when you understand the mechanism behind it, two things happen. The science becomes astonishing, and the responsibility becomes real. Stay with me through every point, because point 3 is the one that most riders have never been told and need to hear. And the final point is something that changes not just how you see your horse, but how you see yourself when you are with them. 1. Your body is broadcasting a signal your horse was built to receive. Every emotion you feel produces a physical event, not a metaphor. A measurable, documented, physiological event that moves through your body, whether you are aware of it or not. When you are anxious, your cortisol rises. Your breathing becomes shallower and faster. Your muscles carry a different quality of tension, particularly across the shoulders, the jaw, the hands. Your heart rate variability shifts. Your posture changes in ways so subtle that another human standing 3 feet away would not consciously register them. Your horse registers all of it. Horses are prey animals who have survived for 55 million years by reading the emotional states of the creatures around them with a speed and accuracy that has no equivalent in the animal kingdom. In a herd, the difference between a companion who is calm and one who is quietly alarmed is survival critical information. Missing that signal could mean arriving late to a threat that kills you, so horses evolved to read it early. To read it before it became obvious, to catch the first breath of a shift in the emotional weather of their environment, and update their internal model of the world accordingly. You are part of that environment. You have been since the first day you walked into their life, and every emotional state you carry into that barn, the obvious ones and the ones you are still figuring out, gets picked up, processed, and responded to by an animal whose entire nervous system was designed to do exactly that. 2. They are reading your face with a system that took thousands of years to build. Horses look at human faces differently than they look at anything else in their visual world. That sentence is not a metaphor. It is a documented neurological finding. Research published in the journal Biology Letters found that horses display a left gaze bias specifically when viewing human faces, meaning their left eye, controlled by the right hemisphere of the brain, which specializes in processing emotionally loaded stimuli, orients preferentially toward the human face. The same hemisphere, the same bias, as humans reading other humans. What this means is that horses are not simply glancing at you when they look at your face. They are running your expression through the part of their brain specifically built to extract emotional meaning from it. Studies at the University of Sussex demonstrated that horses can distinguish between photographs of happy and angry human faces. Horses shown angry faces displayed elevated heart rates, more frequent stress behaviors, and a sustained left gaze orientation, indicating heightened emotional processing. Horses shown happy faces remained calmer and oriented differently. They were not trained to do this. They were not taught the difference between a smile and a frown. They knew. Because somewhere in the long overlap between human and horse history, horses that could read human emotional expression accurately had better outcomes, and that ability got passed forward. So when you walk into the barn with something sitting behind your eyes that you have not yet named, your horse sees it. They read it in the tension around your mouth, the quality of your gaze, the micro expressions that cross your face before your conscious mind has caught up with what you are feeling. They are not guessing. They are reading. And they are very rarely wrong. 3. Your heart is the signal your horse trusts most, and it never lies. This is the point that changes things for most people, so stay with it. Your heart produces an electromagnetic field. That is not alternative medicine. That is physics. Research conducted by the HeartMath Institute has measured the human cardiac electromagnetic field extending up to several feet from the body in all directions. And that field carries information. Specifically, it carries the pattern of your heart rate variability, which shifts measurably and distinctly with every emotional state you move through. Calm produces one pattern. Anxiety produces another. Grief produces another. Anger, another still. Each one is electromagnetically distinct. And horses, whose sensory systems evolved to detect the subtlest signals in their environment, appear to be sensitive to this field in ways that science is still working to fully characterize. What is already documented is this. In studies where human heart rate variability was measured alongside horse behavioral response, researchers found significant correlations between the emotional state of the handler, as measured by cardiac data, and the behavioral and physiological response of the horse, even in conditions where the handler was making deliberate efforts to appear calm. The horse was not fooled by the performance of calm. They were reading something underneath it, something the handler could not consciously control. Your hands can be still. Your voice can be steady. Your face can be arranged into perfect neutrality. And your horse will still know. Because the signal they trust most is the one you cannot manage. The one that comes from the center of your chest and moves outward in every direction. Honest and unedited. 60 to 100 times every minute. You cannot fake your way past a horse. And once you understand that, the question of how you show up for them becomes something much more serious than a training consideration. 4. They knew you were coming before you arrived, and they prepared. There is research that most horse owners have never encountered that sits at the edge of what we currently understand about equine perception. Studies observing horses in stable environments found that horses frequently began displaying anticipatory behavioral changes, subtle shifts in posture, ear orientation, attention direction, before their primary handler became visible or audible, before any conventional sensory signal could have reached them. The working explanations involve infrasound, the low-frequency vibrations produced by footsteps and movement that travel through ground and air at ranges well beyond human hearing. They involve the electromagnetic sensitivity already documented in equine research. They involve the possibility that horses track patterns in their environment with such precision that the specific combination of signals that precede your arrival, even at a distance, has become a recognizable signature to them. What all of these explanations share is the same conclusion. Your horse is not waiting passively for you to appear. They are monitoring for you, actively, continuously, the way a herd animal monitors for anything that carries meaning in their world. And when the pattern that means you begins to emerge, before you have opened the gate, before they can see your face or hear your voice, they have already begun reading the broadcast, already begun adjusting their internal state in response to whatever emotional signal is arriving ahead of you. If you come in calm, something in them settles before you reach them. If you come in carrying something heavy, something in them is already on alert by the time you get there. You do not get a neutral entrance. There is no neutral entrance. There is only what you are already carrying, arriving a few seconds before you do. 5. When you are falling apart, they are not just noticing, they are responding. There is a category of documented horse behavior that researchers have spent years trying to find the right language for. It sits at the intersection of emotional perception and social response. And what it describes is something that horse people have known experientially for as long as horses and humans have been together. When you are in genuine emotional distress, horses who are bonded with you do not simply register it and move on. They respond to it, deliberately, directionally, toward you. Studies examining horse behavior in the presence of emotionally distressed humans found that horses approached crying or visibly upset individuals more consistently than calm individuals, oriented their bodies toward them, and in many cases made sustained physical contact, resting their head against the person's body, staying close without the restlessness that typically characterizes equine behavior. This was not food-seeking behavior. There was no reinforcement. There was no training history that would explain it. What researchers observed looked functionally like what we would call comfort-giving if we saw it between two humans. And the debate about whether that is the correct term for what the horse is doing, whether it involves anything like empathy and the way humans experience it, is still active in the scientific literature. But what is not debated is the behavior itself. Your horse moves toward your pain, consistently, specifically, in a way that is distinct from how they move through the rest of their day. Whatever is happening inside them when they do it, the result on the outside looks unmistakably like care. 6. What you feel in that barn is a conversation, and your horse has been waiting for you to realize it. Here is where all of it lands. Every emotion you carry into that barn is a message, not a problem to be managed, not a liability to be suppressed. A message that your horse is receiving, processing, and responding to in real time, with a sophistication and a consistency that most people spend their entire lives with horses never fully appreciating. The anxiety you feel before a difficult ride reaches them before your foot hits the stirrup. The grief you are carrying from something that has nothing to do with horses arrives at the gate ahead of you. The quiet joy of a good day, the particular ease of a morning when everything inside you is settled, they feel that too. They feel all of it, and they adjust to all of it. Which means that every session you have ever had with your horse has been a two-way exchange. You are communicating constantly with your body, your heart, your nervous system, and they were receiving it constantly and responding to it constantly in ways you may only now be beginning to see. The most important skill in horsemanship has never been the position of your hands or the timing of your leg. It has always been this: the ability to know what you are actually feeling. To walk into that barn with enough self-awareness to understand what signal you are sending before you send it. To take a breath, not for your performance, but for their nervous system. Because here is the truth that the science has spent decades quietly building toward. Your horse cannot separate you from what you feel. They never could. They never tried to. To them, you and your emotional state are the same thing. One signal, one presence, one continuous broadcast that they have been tuned into since the first day you came. The question was never whether they were listening. The question is whether you were ready to understand what that means. You are here. You are asking. And somewhere in a barn that matters to you, a horse already knows that something has shifted. They felt it before you finished reading this sentence. They were built to.